back to another episode of Let Me Be Frank with myself, Simon Houston, Frank McInally. I know we look like a couple of air traffic controllers because we're on Zoom with this one and we're using a new setup. So look all right, don't we, Frank?
No, not really.
We've and once again, Frank's pulled out the big guns. Alan Rambo McInally joins us for this week's episode.
Hi, Alan.
Rambo, how are you?
Hi guys, how are you? By the way, the two of you look ridiculous with those headphones on.
I knew that was coming.
Hey, good to see you, Paul. How you doing?
I'm good, Paul. I'm really good. Doing all right. How about you? You're doing there speaking to Mr. Rashford. Are you doing there?
I'm just trying to think the first thing I'm going to say to him, Frank. I don't know what it is. It's either let's go for a beer or let's go for a game of golf. I'm not sure what to do.
Aye. I think you should take him out training. That's what you should try and do.
Well, it's like you and I know. I mean, just to let everybody know, I've been doing quite a lot of work at Aston Villa in terms of the club itself, not necessarily the players and stuff with Unai Emery, because that's his regime. But it came a bit left field, the Rashford thing, Frank. And at the beginning, I was like, really? And then you and I know as players, if we can just get him into just working a little bit harder than he was doing and maybe give him a wee bit more love than he maybe thinks he's not getting just now, then obviously Unai's been brilliant at Sevilla, at Villarreal, and at Aston Villa, making players better than they are. So hopefully that's exactly what's going to happen.
I think it could be a really good signing. I really do, because he had to get away from Man United. There's a lot of toxic players in that dressing room, and I think that manager will get rid of them all. And if he's not doing it and he's not doing it training, obviously once away, it might be just like a breath of fresh air from coming down to Villa. Such a big club and such a good club.
But Frank, you and I know that it's a new not a new start, but new surroundings, new dressing room, new players. But it's down to him, Frank. It's down to the work rate that he can. If you've not got the ball, we're defenders. When we've got the ball, we're attackers. There's two things in football: you've either got it, or you don't have it. And the finger's been pointed at Marcus quite a lot when not doing enough for the team, or not even doing enough for himself in the position he plays in. And to be fair to Villa, they've had a few injuries lately, so it'll be a good addition. But it's only going to be a really good addition, providing he applies himself the way that we expect Marcus to apply himself. And let's hope that Unai gets his arm around about him and convinces him that he's the old Marcus Rashford again.
Well, he's a good player. Just getting out of him and that's what the manager's getting paid for. So hopefully, I would like to see him do well, because
Me too.
It'd just be another one of the talent wasted. There's so many people that we've seen thinking you were better than that, and I think Marcus is one of them. And I'd like to see him back up there where he belongs. Scoring goals and having fun, put a smile on his face.
The other thing, Frank, I was thinking, and you and I have played with loads of players. Seriously, by the way, if he doesn't play there, he'll be on the bench. As much as I don't know the boy Marcus Rashford at all, but I've been on his side for the last 5 years. In fact, when he was 19 years old, I thought that Man United were, not out of order, that's the wrong way to go, but relied on him so much so that the amount of games he had, he was injured for ages, and I think they asked a lot of him, being such a young player and doing so well without really helping him that much. But even although he's coming with a bad rep over the last year and a half for Manchester United, I still feel an empathy with him, and I genuinely, like you said, Frank, I want him to do really well. I want him to prove to everybody, apart from the fact he's going to be playing with my whole team, Aston Villa, and putting us in a position where we're getting up the table and we're looking as if we're guaranteed to finish in Europe again. That's what he's coming into the team for, and that's what Aston Villa expect him as a club when he's coming in and spending all the money on him.
Everyone loves our comeback, so here's hoping.
We're a week on now from the Battle of Britain. Your two ex-teams, Villa and Celtic. What was the feeling down there in the now the dust settled in the match, and did Celtic kind of surprise anybody with how they approached the game, or what was your kind of thoughts on it?
I managed to get 100 tickets, by the way. Some of the lads still can't believe I got 100 people in it again. It was, to be fair, it was. Pretty, I know there was patches. I'll just go on about the crowd just now. They infiltrating and getting tickets wherever they were. Yeah. That's just the way it is. And I think the fact that it was Celtic against Aston Villa, I think everybody was delighted to see both teams play each other. And the start, obviously, that Villa got kind of put Celtic on the back foot. And I spoke to Brendan really briefly after the game, and I mean briefly. But even I was saying to him, I said, look, I don't think you've got anything to be disappointed with. And Brendan said, I thought our character was pretty good, Al. You know, when you go 2-0 down against Aston Villa at Villa Park, you're right on the back foot. And I know that I'm not saying that Villa took their foot off the gas, because they didn't at all. I think Celtic got back in, and the boy Ida did really well back in his couple of goals. But at 2-2, it was very much in the balance, very, very much in the balance. And I thought Celtic did okay, but I think eventually, people realised that Villa were just a better team in the second half and created the more chances. But you know, I think, and Frank knows this better than anybody, Celtic, and I'll include Rangers in this, are always going to really be gauged on their process in terms of development, is how far they go in Europe. It's not necessarily so much about domestically, though Celtic have dominated that for years. But I think in terms of how far they go in Europe is a gauge on how well the squad does and how well the club's doing at the time. And I've got to say that I thought Celtic, you know, can hold their head up high. It's not an easy draw. And I think the new format, to be fair, with the Champions League, is worked okay for both Aston Villa and for Celtic. And Celtic have obviously qualified for the next stages in terms of the playoffs. So yeah, I think Celtic will be relatively happy. Whereas Villa, on the other hand, we're delighted. You know, finishing top 8 was absolutely incredible.
You mentioned the wee pockets of supporters throughout the stadium. I think it passed off relatively uneventfully. I mean, obviously there was a wee bit of controversy about some of the songs that were sung and so on, particularly with Prince William in the crowd. But as far as, you know, I don't remember seeing too many skirmishes. It was kind of seemed to be.
I think there was bits and pieces, and I suppose that's just I tell you what, at 2-0, everything was pretty kind of not somber, but like an acceptance of. So from some of the Celtic fans, I think they were saying, "Well, we knew this was going to be tough, but no, this is more difficult." When they get the 2-1 and then you get the equaliser, listen, it's hard to sit on your hands when you're a fan of a football club. Let's face it. And even although there was pockets like you're talking about, Simon, I think everybody was relatively well behaved. It's a hard football is a game of passion. And when you love your football club as much as that, and they get back into a game in the Champions League, if it had been the other way around and there'd been Villa fans at Celtic Park, the thing might have been the same. But the good thing is, I think it passed over relatively happy with everybody being, well, obviously with Villa winning, Villa were happy. But it's a difficult situation to police, to put people in the right places that's not going to get a ticket where they maybe shouldn't be. I mean, I'm sorry, you're just never going to manage to make that the way everybody wants it to be. And, you know, it was a great night. It was a super game. It was a Champions League football. You expect it to be up and down, and that's exactly the way it was.
So next week we've got another of Rambo's former teams.
Yes.
Bayern at Celtic Park. What a night that's going to be.
Well, I was delighted, and before you say anything, I was out of two, when this good thing is we know who we're getting, sort of a thing. You were getting Real Madrid or Bayern Munich. I was hoping for Bayern Munich. I just think Real Madrid, we've been there, seen it, done it, and they ran over the top. I don't know about Bayern at the moment in the form. I know they're top of the league. But I think we
I agree, Frank. Listen, there's a vulnerability about Bayern at the moment. There genuinely is a vulnerability about them. I mean, they are top of the league, and that's kind of where you'd expect them to be, first or second at the moment, just after the winter break. But even there's what's the word I'm looking for? There's a not disconcern, that would be wrong. The vulnerability in terms of Bayern at the moment defensively is something that Celtic should take into the game and use it positively. You know, if you can score 2 goals at Villa Park and keep the pressure up, having been 2-0 down, then you can definitely do it in Munich. You have to deal with players in an attacking sense that's going to cause you a few problems, Celtic. They know that. Brendan knows that already. But in terms of a realism on can you win over the 2 legs, I think what Bayern can't do is underestimate Celtic Park on a Champions League night. They cannot underestimate that, because there will be large spells in the game where Celtic are in the game and put Bayern under pressure, and that's when they'll need to score. But I'm kind of with you, Frank. As much as I'm kind of half and half, and I'm a bit like, okay, Bayern won, okay, Celtic won. It's I'm kind of sitting on the fence a wee bit, but there's no question that Celtic are in the tie all day long. This is not a foregone conclusion that Bayern is going to turn them over.
Tell you what makes me feel old. So I was at Celtic Park the night Vincent Kompany made his European away debut for Anderlecht as a 17 or 19? He was late teens, and now he's manager of Bayern. And just, I mean,
I don't know. Well, time's flown by. But what do you think of him, Kompany as a manager? I mean,
well, if you and I had been the manager of Burnley Had I given you all my money, Frank, to have a bet on the next manager at Bayern, you wouldn't have said Vincent Kompany, would you?
No chance. I don't know how that's come
So,
about.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously
got a good agent.
And I think Bayern, to be fair, have done due diligence in terms of, looking at, who he is, what he's done in the game. He obviously was a massive player at Manchester City. And to be fair, did a really good job getting them promoted. But then when you turn around the same situation and it doesn't look as though you're flexible in your management skills when Burnley get relegated, to get the Bayern job was massive. So they've obviously done the deal. And you and I must know this, Frank. The deal's not done after Burnley get relegated. The deal was done 2.5, 3 months prior to that.
Of course it is.
No chance. Otherwise, I wouldn't think Bayern would have went down that road. But I think there's still a lot of people are just wondering whether he is the man to take Bayern to the position where Hansi Flick took them, which is champions of Europe and winning the league easy, and, winning the World Super Cup and all that kind of stuff. So there's still the jury's out to a certain extent with some of the Bayern fans, but he is top of the league. They're still ahead in that, and they're still in Europe, albeit they're very disappointed in only, getting into the playoffs and not necessarily getting into the top 8. So they've got plenty of work to do, and Vincent Kompany, certainly this will be as big a football match that he's ever had, I would imagine, in Europe.
I would imagine.
Do you go over there much, Alan? Do you get to Munich and sort of do they roll out the red carpet for you?
Big long red carpet, big huge long red carpet. I mean, I thought this. To be fair, I thought the statue was a bit much. I'm happy with the red carpet. The statues.
I bet when the statue.
I was over. Frank, you'll like this. I was over in towards the end of October, and so Augenthaler Klaus, who everybody knows I speak about all the time, just because, I mean, what's he ever won? World Cup and everything else that he's won.
Everything
like the King of Munich,
the
only guy that did a beer advert and smoking a cigarette every time. And the game was on, by the way.
Man after one heart.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sitting down with him, Frank, we're having a bit of lunch, and we're talking about the good old days, laughing and joking, and talking about, me learning German, and about some of the games we played in, and the one against Milan in the Champions League, and then the following year in the semi-final, and the game at Eintracht Frankfurt when the Professor Fritz Scherer came in and he went, okay, we haven't beaten Frankfurt in 6 years or something, and everybody's on 10 grand a man. I was like, oh yeah, dancer, brilliant, 10 grand a man. And I can remember me giving it before the game, come on, let's go. And Augie was like that. Oh, Ruiger, take it easy, big man. Take it easy. I was like, okay. Anyway, we won 1-0. Augenthaler scores from the halfway line. Like that again. Don't worry about things.
I've got this.
Be fine. It was just so it was brilliant to go over. So yeah, Simon, I still get lovely invites from Bayern, and I'm still get some really good friends there. And most of the lads, like Hans Flugler and Stefan Reuter and Augie and stuff. They're still pretty good. Although to be fair, he always reminds me. He went, "What did you win?" I said, "We won the title. We won the cup. We won the Super Cup." And he went,
what did you win?
World Cup. I'm like, well, I said, we played in it. We were there for 3 games and we were there before you get out the shower.
I was there on holiday as well. I went on holiday. It was great.
Obviously, still really close to my heart. And obviously, when Bayern were over with the Villa thing, Aston Villa very kindly invited me to the meal with the vice president and everybody at Bayern and stuff before that wonderful result that Villa had. Obviously, with John Duran scoring the only goal of the game. So yeah, I'm very lucky, and I love every minute of it. And it's still great to go back to Munich. It's still home for me.
There was
home.
A lot of love for you there, and to use that term, cult hero. But they really took to you, didn't they? And particularly,
I was really lucky, mate. I mean, if you're scoring goals and you're doing well in a big team, and by the way, I was so lucky because I played with players that all won the World Cup, for God's sake. I've already mentioned Flugler and Reuter and Jurgen Kohler and Augie, obviously, and Olaf Thon. When you go to training and Mr. Beckenbauer when he was alive, and Hunes and Rummenigge and Gerd Müller and Sepp Meier there, you're a bit like,
I know
this is a long way from Man United. It's like just the way your career goes, and all of a sudden you're in a situation where you're like, I never envisaged this at any point. I never thought this would be what it's like, and then you have to properly roll your sleeves up because either that you're sitting in the back of the stand, or you're part of the team.
Well,
that's kind of what I had to do, and I think learning the language and immersing myself in the German culture as well as being part of the team just endears yourself to fans and obviously to the football club. And the cult thing's just been a brilliant thing, and to still be even spoken about or recognised over in Munich is just phenomenally good.
I was going to say, your lifestyle probably helps you settle in Germany a wee bit as well, because I don't think you weren't much of a drinker, were you, from being on the mission?
No.
During your career,
no.
I'm talking about
I used to, you know, how you
don't
get
get off the floor.
Steins, you know, the Steins you used to have. I only used to have a wee half pint.
I'd be happy to, man. I can imagine
because
that. Cup of tea.
How would Mr. McAvenny have settled in the Bundesliga? That's what I was wanting to know.
I would have done all right.
By the way, we'd have, listen, seriously, with that beer with him, we'd have ordered a taxi at 6:30. He'd be sleeping by 7 o'clock.
I was all right. I was a good professional.
I will remember one great story, Frank. You'll love this. We were up in the mountains. It was pre-season. It was after the Christmas break. I nearly said Weihnachten. You'd have killed me there. Anyway, after the Christmas break, we're up in the mountains in Austria, and we were singing and all that and doing the thing. And Uli Hoeneß is like, come on, like, sing a song, get her going and stuff. Because they didn't know the words or anything. I was, you know me, I'm a couple of beers, I'm giving it, right, boys? Let a wee bit of Frank Sinatra here. And like, Heinkus is like, hey, we're training in the morning, come on, get them in the house. And we're like looking. I went, tell you what I'll do. I said, I'll sing a song if you bring me a bottle of champagne. So Hoeneß, who's the governor, and he's like the main man, he's like the general manager. He was Mr. Bayern Munich. He was like 2 bottles of champagne on the table. We were all singing and dancing. It was just brilliant. Brilliant. Just so good. So even my time with the team, you know, being like, just having a bit of a laugh, etc. Knowing that, you know, we're back to work tomorrow, training in the morning, game at night and stuff. It was just, such a great time.
I was the same.
Exactly. You didn't drink champagne.
Simon, I want to tell a story about him. He still owes me 180 quid from 25 years ago.
I remember the story, but the floor is yours. There you go.
No, I can't because
well, it lands you both in trouble.
We were only married at the time, so that was okay.
We're all right. We're all right. I might have been married, but I'm nowhere now, so you're all right.
No, you weren't. But what had happened was by the way, it wasn't anything. We'd actually done a programme called Under the Moon. Over the Moon.
Oh, it was for some guy. It was some prize where somebody was getting. I can't remember.
Danny Kelly was.
That's the one.
He was sitting in a boxing glove doing the show. It was a sports show. Anyway, so we went back to the hotel. Nobody's having a drink. There's a couple of girls there. There's a couple of just guys there, just normal stuff. And it got to like 1 a.m. And Frank was on GMTV at like 7:30 in the morning. So about 10:03 in the morning, I was like, I'm bedtime for Bonzo. I'm out of here. So I never thought about it. Frank's away. That's okay. Need to make sure he's okay. Get Frank away. I came down in the morning. I'm checking out the hotel. And the guy goes, oh, Mr. McInally, you've got a bill to pay. And I said, no. I said, part of it's been looked after by the television company. And I've paid I paid it as the game was, we were drinking last night. He said, yes. I said, I have your receipts here. He says, but you've got 180 quid to pay. Mr. McAvenny took 2 bottles of champagne and put it on your room.
Well, why not? That's what you get for leaving early.
Champagne and Miss World in his arm. Oh, brilliant.
It was only Miss UK. Don't worry about
it. Sorry. Right. Sorry.
So,
the good old days, right?
The good old days.
We'll take you back then to the summer of 1987 when there was like a mass exodus from Celtic Park. So it was Mo Johnson, Brian McClare, Murdo, and yourself all left.
Yeah.
I've read interviews with you before about this and how I think you were a wee bit disappointed. You'd have quite happily hung around, but the contract wasn't what you were looking for.
I didn't want to leave Celtic. I didn't want to leave Celtic. I spoke to Chalky and I were very close. Chalky being Brian McClare.
Yeah.
Him and I were really close, and he had told me the deal had been done to Manchester United. And then Morris said, I'm going to Nantes. And I was like, really? He went, yeah, I'm out of here. And that was the kind of thing that Morris would do. And then I thought, well, that's just leaving me. And Davy Hay was the manager, remember, who I just adored. Davy Hay. He was just a fantastic man. He was really good, kind to me. Any problems I had at Celtic at the beginning, because I was only 20, 21 when I came to Celtic. He was just fun. In fact, I saw him the other day and he looked terrifically well. I was delighted when I saw Davy. He was an important guy in my career. And he said, look, I might not be the manager next year because Billy McNeil might be coming to be the manager. And I was like, wow, I had no idea. Because we had just won, did we win the Cup of the League that year? I can't actually remember.
Well,
Anyway,
certainly won the league in '86 at Love Street, but I think the Celtic lost a lead in '87.
Yeah,
Aye.
we did. You're absolutely right, we did. And that was obviously a problem for Davy as manager then. I think they obviously thought we were going to win the league. And we should have, to be fair. With the team we had, with like Big Roy Aitken and Tommy Burns and Davy Probe, and my God, some of the players, Paul Stay, for God's sakes, Becky Bonner in goals. Just some of the players now, just absolutely phenomenal guys. And I said, well, look, I don't want to go anywhere. I said, can I get a new contract? I had 1 year of my career, 1 year to go. It might have been, maybe that was 3 years up, actually. It might have been. And he said, okay, I'll go to the board. And they said, they came back and they offered me something. And I was like, really? And he said, well, we're going to buy Frank. Frank, did you come in that year?
I came in that year, yeah.
Frank came in October.
I said, we're bringing in Frank McAvenny. And I said, Simon, well, give me the same what Frank's get. Because you were coming from West Ham.
I was coming from West Ham, yeah. Well, they never paid me either, so don't worry about it.
No, I know, exactly. So, in between times, my father, who was a very famous football player, won the league with Kilmarnock, a lot more famous than I ever was in Scotland, my dad. He had been speaking and knew Graham Taylor very well, because Graham Taylor had tried to buy me when he was at Watford with Elton John. And obviously I'd said, look, I'm not going to Watford. I'm not leaving Celtic playing in Europe and, winning a title and bits and pieces. And I'm not going to Watford. And he took the Villa job. And I was like, okay. So I went and spoke to Graham Taylor, and the contract he offered me, Frank, was unbelievable. 3-year contract and good money. And I was like, so can you give me at least what Villa are going to give me? And they went, no. And I was like, wow, it put me back on my heels a wee bit, because I was like, I'd done okay that season. Brian and Chalky and Wemo were going. Murdo was going as well. And I was just going to be the one left that had been there for the last 3 years. So it wasn't a slap in the face, but it was a bit like,
taking it back.
Everybody wants to be loved, Frank.
I know.
And at the time I was thinking, I think I probably deserved a new contract. And I don't want to leave Celtic.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm living in Glasgow. Mum and Dad are down in Ayr. Like everything would seem to be going the right direction. On the outskirts of the Scotland team with you and Morris and Charlie Neck and all that. And literally they said, okay, if we get, it was only like 400 grand, I think it was, Celtic got for me. If we get that from Aston Villa this afternoon, we'll accept it. And literally,
that was it.
Graham Taylor, Villa sent the money. 2 days later, I went straight down to Birmingham, signed a contract, and that was me done at Celtic.
Just thinking, me and you as a partnership, we could have done well. We'd have done really well.
Well, it was something when I realised you were coming. I was like, oh, Frankie, love him to bits. It'll be brilliant. We could terrorise the world. And not only that, maybe be successful in Europe, because we're going to be in Europe then. And then, we can set ourselves against the best in Europe that we'd try to do all the time. But yeah, that was one that kind of came left field for me a little bit in terms of where I thought my career would actually end up. But of course, you
don't know what's ahead of you.
And all of a sudden, my move to Villa was a great thing for me. And I'm delighted I did it now, obviously.
We're talking about World Cups there as well. So, am I right in saying you shared a room with Coisty? And and the difference between you and him was you were getting a game and he wasn't.
I mean, he was I was Mr. Quiet compared to Mr. Loud. There was one brilliant thing, and it was something the lads always used to take the piss a little bit. Excuse my language. Was when I was in Munich, they used to give you these cards where you were on the card, so you could sign it for the kit rather than signing in the back of a fag packet. You would give them a picture of yourself that promoted Bayern and promoted the sponsors or the corporate stuff that etc. was on it. So I got one of them, and it was obviously a thing. So Coisty and I are rooming together. So I got it and I stuck it on the door that we were in on the bedroom door. So every time Coisty come upstairs, he'd come to the door and there'd be a picture of Alan McInally on our door.
Brilliant.
Before he used to come into the door, every time we'd take it off, I would stick a bigger picture up. Oh God! Now, the wee man was different class, and to be fair, probably should maybe that's the only game, genuinely the only game in my career that I'd asked to play again. You get beat, you draw, you win, but the game against Costa Rica is the only one I would change, and probably Mr. Roxburgh maybe should have played myself, Morris, and Coisty. all at the same time. But hey, that's one that got away. But it was just representing your country. I don't know what you thought, Frank, but when I look back now, it's one of the most proudest moments. Again, win, lose, or draw.
Yeah.
I played for Scotland and we won. I played for Scotland and we lost. In every single game, I was as proud as punch. End of.
I loved Scotland, but it was Mr. Roxburgh wasn't my kind of manager. You know, it was
he was more difficult, Frank, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, we went to the World Cup and and we're lying in the grass, and I'm lying with Souness, and we're all lying in the grass, and Andy Roxburgh was the coach, and he came out and he says, "This is what we're going to do today." We were in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and baking hot sun, and he's got the ball and he's keeping the ball up, and he's kicked it up in the air, and he says, and as it comes down, you go sweep it to the right, and then you sweep it to the left, and we're all going, really? And Souness says, I'm not doing that. And he says, why not? He says, I learned how to do that when I was 6.
Exactly.
So that was it. He took a wee bit of embarrassment that day, but it wasn't for me. He's a school teacher, so.
I do remember one time we were in Malta, and so were the Republic before that World Cup, actually, with Big Jack Charlton as manager. And he'd said, right, we're going to train tomorrow, full kit. Like boots, shin pads, shorts, socks, the top, the whole shooting match. 11 against 11. We were like, what? Again, it was hot, Frank.
Yeah.
So we're out on the pitch, and the Republic are training at a pitch next to us. Big Jack's not even there. Big Jack's gone fishing in Malta, by the way. They're chipping Packy Bonner, trying to hit the crossbar. And as soon as you hit the crossbar, you went in. Seriously, we're running about. I'm doing it like, I've lost 2 stone. It's that warm playing in the game, trying to impress. So I start the first game. Oh man, it was different. So you can imagine me.
It was strict with me. My last game, I was running out and I was just getting in training. I've ran out and he's went, Macca, pull your socks up. I went, sorry, Gaffer, I'll do it. And I went to run. He went, no, come here, pull your socks up. And I went, what? He said, pull your socks up. He meant, and because I had them on, I had to change them. We went to me to change them, so I had the Umbro sign at the other side. And I'm thinking, you are having a laugh. It's the national team we're playing for. So there was a few words get exchanged, and that was me. That was me finished. You know. Anyone anyone's more
him and Craig
important.
Brown, I got on all right with him, obviously. But it's just when I look back, it was probably. I mean, when I think, I'm saying it was the best chance for us to qualify to the next stages of the World Cup, but I suppose if Kenny and Suey and all that, they couldn't do it.
Well,
but certainly it was a good opportunity considering we beat Sweden in the next game, didn't we? Then unfortunately we got beat by Brazil in the last game, so it sent us home. But it's the only game I would change in my whole career. Win, lose and draw, the only game I would love to have another crack at was Costa Rica.
I'd like to talk about another Celtic great that had a big impact in your career towards the end, Tommy Burns, as well, when you came back. You came back to come
on. He's
some boy, innit?
You try to make me cry.
Aye. And Jerry Collins
Tommy
as well.
was, Big Jerry. Big Jerry Collins. What people maybe don't know, that Big Jerry Collins was Tommy Burns' best man.
Aye.
Now, Big Jerry Collins, if you took Tommy Burns and he was on this side of the line, then Jerry Collins would be on a line so far away that you couldn't even think they'd be friends. But they were like that. And Tommy Burns, for me, Tommy Burns was the only reason. See, my dad was at Kilmarnock. That was enough for the McInally family. But Tommy Burns was there. And when I had left Bayern and I was doing a wee bit of the TV stuff, he went, come and do the under-18s. You'll really like it, a bit of coaching, because I was just doing my coaching badges. And I'd met Tommy again when I was doing my coaching badges at, what's it called again? Inverclyde.
Yeah, Inverclyde, yeah.
So I did all my A+, all that kind of nonsense. He says, come and do the coaching. And of course, we're playing in the wee games, Frank. He said, why don't you play again? I'm like, I'm done and dusted. My knee's killing me. And I only played about 6 or 7 games. But the Toby McCluskey and wee Danny Craney and Tommy and Billy Stark and some of the boys that were there, they were just wee Mark Riley. And it was just, it was one of the best times in football that I ever had at Kilmarnock. But it was all because of Tommy Burns. All because of Tommy Burns. And I loved the man dearly. He was just the best. Yeah. I mean, the best.
Aye.
And he was successful at Kilmarnock as well. I remember to be fair, we got beaten in the semi-final by Rangers after a replay in the Scottish Cup. And they were a wee bit unlucky we didn't get the final. But I go back to what I was going to say about Jerry Collins. So Jerry Collins played with me when I was at Ayr United. Remember, I'm only 17, 18 at the time. So I hardly was like, I was in the first team, but I mean, I'm not exactly the mainstay in the dressing room. And Jerry Collins is a massive Celtic fan, like huge Celtic fan, obviously. And Tommy's obviously already playing at Celtic at the time. And he came and he gave me a Celtic strip. He says, "You're wearing this tonight at training at United." I was like, "Why?" He went, "You're wearing it, you're going to Celtic." So I was like, imagine Jerry Collins telling you to do something, you'd be like, "Yes, Jerry, right away, Jerry, not a problem, Jerry." So I'm training at Ayr United with my Celtic strip on underneath my training top. It was unbelievable. And all the lads are like, "What are you getting?" I said, "Well, Jerry said I had to wear it, so I better wear it." And it was literally like that. So going to Celtic eventually wasn't that like I'd already seen that it was inevitable that I was going to be playing at Celtic. But the big man was just fab. Yeah. Absolutely fab.
On the subject of crying and talking about Tommy Burns, I don't know if Rambo, if you followed the story up in Scotland after the Motherwell Celtic game. Jota came back and he scored on his return, and then he got a wee bit emotional on the pitch afterwards, and it caused a wee bit of a stramash because a couple of the pundits in the studio were saying, "Crying's no for me," kind of thing, you know. So it's caused a bit of a row.
Well, after 18 months, I thought after 18 months he said, you know, you get caught in there, boy. And he scored the last kick of the ball.
Yeah.
And when the fans are all singing, after 18 months of in the wilderness, really.
But it's raised the big issue.
It's
raised the big issue about guys kind of in the mental health and all that stuff, you know. So I don't know if you followed that or not, if you've seen the fallout from it.
I never realised that you know he was that emotional with the thing. To be fair, but if the boys are talking about not showing any emotion, then I don't know how good they were talking or playing football. I don't know who you're talking about, so I can't say specifically. But I suppose football being a big boys' game, and you're not meant to show that kind of. I've tried. Listen, there's plenty of times I've cried, winning and losing.
Yeah,
and it's something you have to deal with, and it's just how you deal with your emotions. But I only said, "Don't make me cry," because I'm speaking about someone that played such a huge influence in my football career when I came to Celtic, and even before I came to Celtic. And me, as a man, just Alan McInally, without being a football player, without being on TV for the last how many times, and without me being so involved with Aston Villa, Tommy Burns for me was one of the best human beings I ever met in my life.
Yeah.
And learned so much from Tommy about life and about football. And that's why I talk about him in such terms. And every one of us, and I mean every one of you, Rangers fans, Celtics fans, Aberdeen fans, were someone's been taken away from us that you would just sit in his company and sit for hours with.
Oh, easily. Easily. It was just one of the guys.
How did you go? Obviously, you got on very, very well with Tommy in the centenary season, but did you find he was like kind of one guy that was slightly closer to you than the rest?
Well, he used to say to me, "There's two paths in life," you know, and I used to say to Tommy, "Why don't you try mine?" He said, "Oh no." He loved a song. It was brilliant. But I got to know him before I went to Celtic because I used to play in midfield for St Mirren. And I'm playing direct leg. This time I'm playing the right, Tommy's in the left for Celtic, and he's going, "Macca, Celtic are watching you." And I'm going, "What?" "Celtic want to buy you." And I'm going, "Oh, really?" And he's like, "Aye, so you get out of the park and do things, don't worry about me." And I'm like a stupid wee boy running away from him. And he's not chasing me, and Packy's getting the ball and flinging it out to him, and he's getting out of the park. And of course, I'm getting dog's abuse after the manager and all that. And he took me off eventually, and I'm walking off, I'm going, "But Celtic's watching me." "Get up, you're crap." And I turned around and Tommy's laughing. And it was a lesson that I learned that night. It was brilliant.
Frank, I remember how we always used to have a Christmas party.
Yeah.
And we'd have it, I don't know, obviously before Christmas. I don't know, maybe say the 10th of December or something like that. Be a Thursday night or something.
Christmas Eve, just before the game.
Tommy didn't drink. I mean, if he didn't drink, it was like nothing. He wasn't a drinker, Tommy, or anything. He wasn't anything like that. So I can remember we got to the Grosvenor Hotel at the top of...
Byers Road.
What's the Grosvenor? What's the top of the street?
Byers Road.
The street. Byers Road. Top of Byers Road. So we get in there and we say, "Well, we'll all arrive about 5:30 and have a bite to eat." Swear to God, arrive at 5:30. There's bits and pieces. We put we put Burns in a taxi at 10 to 7. 10 to 7. He'd 3 shandies, and literally Big Roy carried him out and threw him in a taxi. he was sleeping at 7:30 in the house. Oh man, it was just, he was like, he was, like, don't you be drinking that, like somebody's beer, and he drank the beer in one thing, and we were like, what are you doing?
We used to have
He was just a life and soul.
I know he was.
Brilliant. 10 to 7, we're like, taxi for Burns, out.
Right. We used to go to restaurants, and it was incredible. He used to go up and sing in front of everybody.
Huge singer.
People were out having a romantic meal and all that.
Do McInally.
And he's McInally. He's up there singing. We had to pay for their meal. Sorry about that. Cost us every time we went out, it cost us a fortune.
Now, one thing I want to talk about, so the forward planning department at Let Me Be Frank let ourselves down the other day, and we scheduled this interview for the middle of transfer deadline day.
Yeah.
And then, so it's not going out until Thursday. So as things stand, we don't know exactly how tonight's going to finish. One thing that looks as though it's fairly clear, though, is the boy Daniel Cummings is going to go to West Ham either now or in the summer in a pre-contract kind of thing. It's an interesting situation with English clubs looking north of the border now post-Brexit, because they can't go and buy young European players. Until they're 18. So this didn't really happen that much in the past, but now you've got likes of Ben Doak and now Cummings and so on. What would you, if thinking back to when you were kind of playing with St Mirren or whatever, Frank, had the opportunity to go to England as a kind of 17?
Well, I was different because I came into the game late at 19, but when I was 5 seasons at St Mirren, and I got about 3 offers to go down south. But I wasn't ready. I knew I wasn't ready.
Do you think it's a case of, these boys are
going for money. The agents have got different agendas now. My agent, everyone talks about Paul McMurdo, but it was great for the lads. It was great. Yeah. We Moy, George Best, me. It was great in that respect, because I wasn't ready to go to England. And I didn't want to get down there and sit my arse on a bench.
Same as yourself, Alan.
I didn't want to do that.
As a 17 or 18-year-old, if a club in England came calling and you knew your money was going to be a lot more than you were getting, but you might think, it's too soon.
I'm not going to play.
It's a tricky decision.
Well, the biggest thing for me was my old man says, get a job. If you're going to be good enough, fair enough. But when I was 16 and I signed for United, my mum had said to my dad, he's not going anywhere. My baby stays in Scotland. So, and Spurs wanted me, Sheffield Wednesday wanted me, and Spurs Chef Wed in Coventry, I think it was, that wanted me to go down at the time. I was 16 years old. And my mom said to Big Jake, he's not going anywhere. Make sure he stays here. And literally, Davy Hay asked me to sign for Celtic on the Tuesday. And that was it. I played my last game for United on the Saturday, and I'd already signed for Celtic. And I was going to stay in Scotland. So my mom was quite happy.
Aye.
But the biggest thing was my first introduction to agents, because my old man was my agent. He got me 64 quid a week and £1,000 signing on. And I went to the hole in the wall about 3 days later, and there was 400 quid in it. And 2 days later, my old man was driving a brand new Ford Mondeo. That was my first instance. and my mom's giving it, give him that money back, Jack. Give him that money back. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So back then, I had the opportunity to go south, but I wanted to stay. But then once I'd, left there United and gone to Celtic, then it was entirely up to me after that. But I suppose England was eventually going to be my destination.
So how's life now? You're a big name still in Sky Sports. You still love it? Still doing the matches and so on?
I don't do so much. It's changed a little bit, Sky Sports, but I still obviously, I'm still associated with Sky, still love it. Soccer Saturday. I'm exactly the same as I was 20 years ago. As soon as I got up the stairs, get on the gantry, see the green grass, I'm ready. I'm a football fan. I'm dying to look at new players. I'm trying to be as objective as I can, because I've never been a pundit that slaughters the players, because you're not trying to be bad. You want to be good every game, but it's just in terms of how they cope with the game, how they cope with game situations, what would I be doing? Because Frank and I will tell you, when we watch a game, there's nothing that happens in the game that hasn't happened to us. People think, oh, that's never happened. You're like, really? Try 50 times it's happened. So we already know sometimes as the game's going on, what's probably going to develop, unless somebody does something spectacularly, individually brilliant. So I still really enjoy that, Simon, and I love the unexpectancy or the wonder goals, etc., that keeps me, still keeps me
what makes
loving
me
going
laugh
to games. I mean, I am sort of very heavily involved at Aston Villa now, to be fair, which I love dearly. And Villa's kind of my team, really. Well, not kind of my team, it is my team. And I still love going to Aston Villa. And they, certainly under Unai Emery, have just been so good this season. And it's obviously accumulated in the top 8 place in the Champions League.
Mm-hmm. What I was saying, I watch the telly now and I watch things and it makes me laugh because they think they've just invented it, the high press and all that. And I'm thinking, well, we done that in the 80s. I mean, we just didn't call it anything. They've all got names for everything now, and it makes me laugh. But I'm going to be honest with you, I don't watch Soccer Saturday now. I just...
No, there's a lot of people have said to me they're not particularly happy with the product.
It was good fun.
I mean...
It was good fun years ago.
Listen, if you think about the characters that I worked with, Chris Kamara and Charlie Nicholas and Phil Thompson and the likes of Ian Dowie and TC, who you'll know really well, Frank. These are football people, football people that love football and like to talk about it. And even when we weren't on the television or were having a beer in the hotel, that was like Soccer Saturday. Even Jeff Stelling, for God's sakes, Jeff loved football, even though we know he was only a Hartlepool player. He was part of our squad, and it was really good. But yeah, I suppose, Frank, there's a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of other things to do in the world nowadays, and if Sky Sports is not top agenda, then you're not going to watch it.
Yeah. No.
At Villa, you probably crossed swords with an old newspaper friend of mine, Tommy Jordan, as well.
Tommy, bro. I mean, him and I talk about Celtic more than we talk about Aston Villa. Tommy's a big Celtic fan. Tommy's like the main guy there, isn't he?
And I was going to say, if you got 100 tickets for the match, I wonder how many he got.
Because he said, I text him right away. I said, how many tickets can you get me? Just before the Celtic Villa game. But yeah, Tommy's a good guy. Right in there with Mr. With Emery and Monchi and Damien, the director of football. So yeah, he works hard, Tommy. He does a really good job at Villa. I see him quite a lot because I'm down at the training ground quite a lot, and he's in good form. Tommy's a top guy.
So you've just been made an ambassador.
Sorry, Sam. One of the great stories. He's very friendly with I can say this, Paul Lambert, and Paul and I were having a beer in a hotel in London one night, and my phone went, and it was the Racing Post, and they went, "Can you do a piece?" Like 200-word piece on, it was Bayern against Dynamo Kiev or something. And I was in London because I was flying to Kiev to do the game. And I was like, I said, oh yeah. I said, I think so. So, and I went, because I can remember, you'll know, Simon, because Tommy was a journal.
That's right, Evening Times, yeah.
It was a journal, wasn't he?
I was, right? Evening Times Sports.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd said, and I think they were going to give me £500. I can't remember. And I was like, okay, I'll do it, thinking I'll do it. And I sat with a piece of paper in front of me. I was like, right. Back in the day, I'm giving it one of them. One of them giving it the typewriter. Anyway, I said to Tommy, I said, do me a favour. You write this. I said, you can have the money. And I've just put my name to it. So, of course, Tommy did a really good story, sent it in the Racing Post and used it. And they were like, that was really good, Al. Could you do one for the next round? And I was like, Jordan, I need another 201. Brilliant. So obviously we still laugh and joke about that one. So he's a good guy, and I think Celtic at heart, but he loves the Aston Villa as well.
So time's moving on, so we'll probably have to wrap up fairly soon. But before we go, prediction time. I always wanted to say that prediction time for Bayern.
Right? Okay.
You go first, Frank. Would you?
I think Celtic will win at Celtic Park. There you are. I think we'll get. Whether we get through or not, I don't know.
Okay,
listen.
That fence is creaking a wee bit with that.
I know.
I lost a bit of weight. No.
No. I think do. I think it's a different kettle of fish.
Okay.
When the crowd are there, and if a team play the way they can play,
so
I think we've got a chance.
Potentially get a result at Park.
I think so.
Maybe
get a draw over there. I mean, we went to Atalanta and got a wonderful result, Celtic. Especially after getting a doing with one of the German teams. So I think you can. I think you can do something. I really do. Hopefully, we can all hope.
Well, I don't think they'll underestimate Celtic, first and foremost Bayern. But I do think they'll be unaware of how influential Celtic Park can be on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night in Europe. And you also have to add another little gold dust in, because it's such an important night for Celtic that there'll be an even higher intensity to the game. And if the fans impart anything on the players, then I genuinely believe that Frank's right. I think their best chances, obviously, at Celtic Park. What they can't do is get Tom 3-0 in Munich. End of. You know, you need to be tighter than a submarine's door,
Yeah.
and everybody has to do a good job. And Casper has to be in great form in goal to make sure that they don't put you to the sword. But the game at Parkhead is where Celtic can hopefully put themselves in a position. I take it the first game's at the
First
Parkhead.
game's
at
Celtic
Parkhead,
Park,
Yeah, Wednesday the 12th
Isn't
at
it?
Parkhead,
Next week.
and then
Next week,
18th in Munich.
Yeah, so I mean, and by the way, I'd be quite happy to go the other way and say I don't think Celtic got a chance, but I'd be lying. I don't think that's the case at all. But I do think Celtic Park is something that Celtic will be able to use that night. And I don't honestly think you'll need to tell the players any real importance of the game. Listen, Frank and I are in a band of men who are fortunate more than anybody else that we have put on a football strip and ran out at Celtic Park and know that it goes right through you sometimes. It's a special place, and with a bit of luck, it'll be a special place that night. But they've got to make sure they're still in the tie, and you just never know. There is a vulnerability at Bayern Munich now that a lot of teams in Europe are taking advantage of, and that's proven by the reason they're only in the playoffs against Celtic. That gives Celtic a chance.
So before we wrap up, just a quick reminder to everybody to hit the subscribe button. It's free to subscribe, follow us on all the social media, all your Instagrams and your Twitters and your TikToks, and we'll keep producing the goods with tremendous guests like Alan Rambo McInally.
I'm not doing this for free.
By the way, Rambo, I do want to ask you one final question. When you ran out the first time you heard the Jungle singing Rambo, Rambo, what was it like?
It's incredible, isn't it?
It was.
It's
That
incredible.
was. I don't know if anybody knows this. I don't even know if Big Roy Aitkins ever told the story. We won the cup and we went to Vancouver. And we were playing the Vancouver Whitecaps, just one game, and it was just like it was an end of season trip, and it was a 10-dayer away with all the lads together, etc., etc. The hardest thing was finding out where we put a tag on wee Mo to find out where he was somewhere in Vancouver, just to make sure we were going to get him back on the plane to come home. But anyway, Roy and I went to the movies to kill a bit of time, and we went to see First Blood. It's only just come out, literally just come out. So we see the movie, Sylvester's tying himself up and all that, killing the world. And we came back and we went to Ireland pre-season, and I scored a couple of goals. And one of the journals said, in a Rambo-style fashion, bumped a couple to the ground and nailed it into the top corner. And the very next day, I ran out at Celtic Park, and the whole of the jungle was like, Rambo, Rambo. And from that day, that's exactly where I've been. Incredibly proud, incredibly humble, and something I look back on with great affection.
I'm the same. I ran out in the jungle, but still singing Rambo, Rambo.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. Listen, what a way to finish, what a way to wrap up. Alan, absolute privilege. Thanks very much.
Cheers, pal.
And next time you're up, maybe if you're up in Scotland at some point in the future, we'll get you in the studio.
When he says,
absolutely.
We'll get a game of golf.
Absolutely, guys.
Get a game of golf when you come up.
Good luck, everybody.
Take care.
Cheers, Al.
Alan. See you
Take care,
later.
pal.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.